Hello everyone, and I'm back again talking about Delta Force. Now note, I said talking, not playing. This was the second of two clips that I recorded back in 2025 when I was weighing up bringing back my YouTube channel. And of course, as everyone knows who's watching these videos, if you're even at this point in the video, I did decide to revive my YouTube channel, but just this past April. But one of the games I wanted to play was Delta Force, and this is an interesting one. Now, the game's almost certainly changed a lot since I recorded this back in late September last year, but the core gameplay still sticks with me because it was quite an interesting experience. So I wanted to play it on mobile because I thought it was just funny to see what was like almost a full fat like console shooter on mobile, because this does play very almost identical actually to the console versions, and I chose to play this on Xbox, as you know that's my primary console of choice. I don't have a PlayStation 5, I've only got a Series X. I have a Series S, but you know, Series X is my main system. And I ended up completing the achievements for the games there, but I wanted to play it on mobile because, yeah, again, the full fat experience, and it was fun, but it's like a dopamine shooter because you're playing largely against bots. Like, I can't imagine like a lot of these players were actual people, because this was recorded on a Galaxy S24 Plus Exynos, which is the inferior version of the two phones, and I was just kicking ass. So, you know, I knew that this would just be, you know, this game just, you know, giving me the dopamine rush that so many people get when they want to play these shooters, which locks them into them, and then they spend money on cosmetics and, you know, the whole shebang shaboo, whatever. But it was pretty funny playing this on Xbox because I didn't quite get that experience over there. The game, you know, it was very much like Battlefield 2042 actually, which almost felt like a negative, but I liked, I don't know, just a bit of charm about this game that just, I don't know, you didn't really get with Battlefield. It was just a different style, a different sort of atmosphere, different vibe. It was very chaotic, very, you know, Korean, Chinese shooter. I mean, this game was developed by Singaporeese developers, but it was, you know, it's still, you know, just the Asian shooter vibes, like, you know, the Counter-Strike Nexon games and all that. Like, it had that different thing going on, so it was fun for me because, you know, so many Western shooters, you know, Call of Duty and Battlefield, all, you know, they have their skins and all that sort of thing, but it's just, things are just done differently here, and I appreciate that nonetheless. And I did eventually do all the achievements for the game on Xbox, which was quite a challenge because of the extraction mode with the mantle brick. Now, of course, people who have done those achievements, I mean, I don't think anyone who's actually done that achievement would have probably be watching this video, but what worked at the time back in November last year was, like, you know, getting into a level with a mantle brick and then waiting for everyone to kind of extract. You know, no one went for it or everyone died, and you just hide and then wait. You didn't have to actually extract it, you just had to pretty much just take it or something like that, and you just won the achievement there. But for the 30 plus hours that I had on this game, playing it like a Battlefield clone, it was a fun experience. And of course, there was a single player campaign that was based off Black Hawk Down, or like inspired by that Black Hawk Down movie, based off the Siege of Mogadishu. I think that's the name of the Somalian capital. I could be wrong. My pronunciation of things is often terrible and often okay. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, it is what it is. And I'm just swiping through all the menus, just seeing what all the menus are like and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, it's just funny going back through this and just kind of reminiscing on playing this game. For the last couple of years or so, I haven't really been playing as many online games with friends, but I do remember playing this with a friend of mine who's been around for a very long time in my life, and she, when she was living with me for a couple of weeks, while she was trying to find a new place and all that, and getting out of another house, we both played this game together. She played it on PlayStation 5 and I played it on Xbox, and it was like the only time I've ever had like local screen, like local two-player like experience, but with like two different systems. Like, it wasn't split screen, it was just like couch gaming with two different consoles. And you know, just like gaming in the 2020s is just that you can just do that cross-platform now. And I guess if we played this on like mobile and on PS5, I guess it would have been a similar experience. It's just I would have just played it on mobile. But yeah, the gunplay, it's a funny one because it is very much Modern Warfare 2019 coded, with like the movement and the vehicle sort of feedback of like Battlefield 2042. I mean, I say that like the final versions of 2042, which itself is a fine shooter. Like, you know, it's definitely not, you know, Battlefield 6. Although that being said, I wasn't really a huge fan of Battlefield 6. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, that game was way too fast paced and kind of the antithesis of what older Battlefield games are like, because you could at least enjoy those games and play them a bit slower and not have to sweat, slide and dive everywhere to, you know, get your KD at 1. Whereas like the older Battlefields, you could play things a bit differently and still have a good time focusing on objectives and stuff like that, and being, you know, a role player like with support and with medics and stuff like that. And I guess this game kind of follows that sort of OG sort of idea to an extent, because you can just support a lot of your allies, even if a lot of those allies are bots. And there are actually achievements tied to that, so there's a little bit of an incentive to do that. And that was all quite a lot of fun, actually, just going through all that and just, you know, being a support player, because it's rewarded here. It felt, strangely enough, like a classic Battlefield game, even though, you know, it's very much not that. It's pretty much just a mixture of Modern Warfare 19 and Battlefield 2042, but... yeah, I mean, the settings on this are running a bit low. The capture for this gameplay is for some reason capped to 48 FPS, although I do distinctly remember playing this game and it was running at a relatively smooth 60 on the Exynos 2400. Again, the S24 isn't really that good of a phone, especially like, you know, the flagship specs compared to like an iPhone 15 or an iPhone 16. It's not great, but I stuck with Samsung. Like, I've had Samsung phones for 7 years, and just because I like the Android ecosystem, I've used Android phones for about 10 years. So actually, it's actually been about 11 years actually that I've been using Android phones, and I don't really see myself changing that up, even though I keep saying to friends and family that I do look into getting an, like, I'm actively considering getting an iPhone at some point, just because I'm a bit sick of the One UI. I'm not a huge fan of what they've done with One UI 7 or 8. One UI 5 and 6 were probably the peak of the Samsung One UI experience, but the Pixel UI is good, but I just don't like that Google cheapens out severely on hardware, and of course with all the RAM crisis, they've now got an even bigger excuse to do that. But my Google Pixel tablet is handling itself quite well, even if the chipset's underpowered, but I just can't justify the Pixel range, to be honest. I love the aesthetic of the user interface, and I like the hardware, but it's just too overpriced for my liking, so... part of me kind of wants to go to the Honor phones, like if Xiaomi were available in Australia, I'd probably consider it, but... and even Huawei, to be fair, but they don't use Android, they use a Harmony OS, which is apparently a fork of Android anyway, but I don't know, I need to read into that a bit more, but... yeah, it'd probably be an Honor phone or a Motorola. I mean, maybe not a Motorola, but maybe like an Honor phone. If I can find like a high-end Oppo or Honor, I'd probably go for it, just because it's something different, something left field. And when I got my Motorola originally back in 2015, that was my line of thinking, and same with the HMD Nokia 8 that I got that. While was great for recording videos here because it ran into 16:9 and had a 1440p screen and had a high-end Snapdragon, so mobile games ran great on it. The hardware in terms of the headphone jack and all that let me down quite a bit, but yeah, this is, you know, a fun experience going back to Delta Force. I should probably be talking about that game a bit. It is, you know, funny because it is like roughly, what, like, I think at the time it was like a 6 gig install, but again, you know, you download everything. The game is one of those games where it's like, oh, you know, you only need a small amount of space, but if you want to actually download everything, this game balloons in file size. Like, on Xbox, when I had it on there and I wanted to get that Metal Brick achievement, I wanted to uninstall it because I just wanted to, you know, download other things and play other games. But I wanted to keep this to complete this, so I remembered to complete this, and the game got to about 120 gig, and that didn't include the single-player campaign component, or the co-op campaign component. So yeah, this is a pretty big game, and I believe it has control support on mobile, but I didn't try it at the time. I just thought I'd just play around with the game with its mobile controls, its touchscreen controls, and just see how it plays. And needless to say, I had a pretty fun experience. So yeah, it's kind of irrelevant posting such an older build of this game, considering I could only presume this game has changed so much since, but I remembered that I had recorded this, and I did have a lot of impressions of this game because this game was a relatively weird experience, and it was, you know, I played a lot of it during a pretty good time in my life, and I kind of wanted to reminisce on that a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this rather bizarre journey into me talking about Delta Force and then getting lost talking about phones instead. But yeah, I might do another video on this game at some point. I don't know, really. I'll figure out something in the long term, but that will wrap things up, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.